think we'll be able to begin our session. Asaya, would you like to start?
Right, sure. Good morning. Welcome to the NIH Office of Data Science Strategy ODSS track today. And we have a schedule session 1 starting from 7 a.m. to 8:40 a.m. locally at Maryland EDT time. So first, Susan will start her introduction of the ODSS and the data science ecosystem at NIH, and follow with Brian's talk, then Robert about FHIR, Michael about the cloud cost. We have a couple of housekeeping items. Every talk, we will have 1 minute speaker intro, following with about 18 or 17 minutes talk. And then we have 3 to 4 minutes Q&A. For the Q&A session, please post your questions on the Q&A panel, and we will answer that during the call. If we do not get the time to answer your questions live, please, we will follow up on the answer it in writing in the Q&A panel. And then if you have more questions relating to NCPI, please send emails to the emails here to me or Valentina. So now let's start with Dr. Susan Gregurick's talk. I'm be very honored to introduce her. So Dr. Susan Gregurick was appointed Associate Director of Data Science and Director of the Office of Data Science Strategy at the National Institutes of Health on September 16, 2019. Under Dr. Gregurick's leadership, the ODSS leads the implementation of the NIH strategic plan for data science through scientific, technical, and operational collaboration with the institutes, centers, and offices that comprise NIH. Dr. Gregurick was instrumental in the creation of ODSS in 2018 and served as a senior advisor to the office until being named to her current position. Dr. Gregurick was previously the Division Director for Biophysics, Biomedical Technology, and Computer Biosciences at the National Institute of General Medical Science. Prior to joining the NIH in 2013, Dr. Gregurick was a program director in the Office of Biological and Environmental Research at the Department of Energy. Before beginning a career of government service, Dr. Gregurick was a professor of computational chemistry at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Her research interests include the dynamics of large biological macromolecules, and her areas of expertise are computational biology, high-performance computing, neutral scattering, and bioinformatics. Dr. Gregurick received her undergrad degree in chemistry and mathematics from the University of Michigan and her PhD in physical chemistry from the University of Maryland. Dr. Gregurick, please take it over.
Thank you so much, Asaya, for that warm introduction. I'm going to give a very quick overview of some of the activities that are happening across NIH that are catalyzed by my office, the Office of Data Science Strategy. And during this course of the 2-day event, you'll get to meet a number of my colleagues who are working with me to help implement our strategic plan. I know my time is short, so I'm going to go pretty quickly. There are a number of reasons that compel us to focus on data science. The first, of course, is one that you'll be very familiar with, our Data Management and Sharing Plan, which will go into effect in January of 2023. And many of our investigators will put into practice the FAIR principles, and you'll hear today more about what we're doing to support the FAIR principles: findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. But that's not enough. Most of our researchers are interested in diseases that have and require a large amount of data. For example, pediatric cancer, it's a rare disease. Finding enough of the data that can help identify causal variants is in itself a very challenging problem, and you'll hear almost immediately about our work to create interoperable resources for researchers. And finally, data science has great potential for artificial intelligence. Making sense of vast quantities of data being generated by modern instruments is, of course, a lawful goal for NIH. I'm going to talk about some of the sessions you're going to hear today and what's motivating us at NIH. The first is connecting our data platforms to create a larger ecosystem. This is borrowed from Melissa Hendel with much gratitude. There's many ways of thinking about interoperability. It's almost always in the eye of the beholder. We could think about it from the licensing, the way that researchers must request access to data resources. Today, we'll hear a lot about systems interoperability and platforms, but even all of this is not enough. One must, of course, decode the data from all of the different models, terminologies, ontologies in order to truly get interactive search and analytics. I'm pleased to tell you a little bit about our NIH Cloud Platform Interoperability effort, and you're going to hear from Brian O'Connor from Broad, who will talk about our researcher auth services, system interoperability, and GA4GH. You'll hear from Michael Schatz to talk about, from Johns Hopkins University, to talk about the cost of modeling compute on the cloud. You'll hear from Robert Carroll from Vanderbilt about our work on fast healthcare interoperable resources. And finally, you'll hear from Harrison Brand, who is in fact going to talk a little bit about a use case. And I want to tell you that all of our work starts and ends with the researchers and their use cases. And so between Brian and Mike and Robert and Harrison, you'll hear about ways in which we're creating ability to search across. These are just 3 examples of important platforms that NIH supports. We hear about pulling data into cloud spaces and aggregating across cloud storage is all important work in order to create interoperability. There isn't enough time to tell you where we are. You're going to hear from our researchers where we are, but this slide just helps you to level set that we're just beginning this really important work. And as Osea said, Valentina Di Francesco is our lead on the interoperability program. You're going to hear from my colleague Ishwar Chandraramaswamy about our FAIR data and trust repositories, ways in which we can instantiate the FAIR principles, and also the trust principles, transparency, responsibility, user focus, sustainability, and technology. You'll hear a little bit about our characteristics for repositories. These are desired characteristics that we hope that we can support NIH funded resources to assign persistent unique identifiers, for example, accompanying data with metadata, all of the important characteristics for trust and FAIR repositories. We support this through a number of ways at NIH. I'm just highlighting one of the supplements that we supported this year to strengthen FAIR and trust principles and adopt and enhance the community to develop metrics and standards. And then you'll hear a little bit about the concept of co-opetition between generalist repositories, ways to collaborate on common goals, such as common metadata identifiers, and ways to support unique features from generalist repositories. And I'll introduce Ishwar Chandraramaswamy and Jenny Larkin, who lead in this effort. Tomorrow, you're going to hear about our software work. I'm going to quickly go through that because I'll talk about that tomorrow. And I'll talk a little bit tomorrow about the partnership with NSF and Smart and Connected Health. And I'll introduce my colleagues tomorrow who are working on this. I know time is short. There are many ways in which we can think about a data ecosystem. And our goal here today to engage you is to ask you, what do you consider a data ecosystem? Is it the data and software that support the FAIR and CARE principles? Is it a repository's ability to share common goals and enhance findability? Software engineering and best practices? Perhaps it's the way in which we can deduplicate and disambiguate participant data across data platforms, creating better researcher usability. Perhaps it's ways in which we train colleagues to work across the biomedical data, information and computer science fields, and I believe also partnerships in data science across international boundaries. These are just some of the few of the things you'll hear about today. I'll also talk a little bit tomorrow about our seminar series. I want to thank all of our participants today and all of my colleagues at NIH who make data science happen across NIH. We work with more than 200 individuals to support the work that you'll see, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about the work that we'd like to do in the future. And I hope that's where we'll have a conversation. And with that, I am going to stop sharing so that my colleagues can begin their presentations. And it's a pleasure to kick off to Brian O'Connor from Broad. Thank you again for joining us today.